Hey everybody and welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Rob Marsiglio back here with another video for you. Today I want to look at what are prices doing in Durham Region on the detached side of things. Why are they doing what they are doing? Spoiler alert, they're staying a little flat recently. And again, my reasoning for them being flat, you can probably already tell from the title of this video and the thumbnail, is that we have inventory that is lower than we are used to historically seeing for this time of year, and we also have some stubborn sellers out there. So I want to show you a few charts, which thank you very much for the suggestion from last week's video. I brought back to kind of highlight what we are going through right now. First things first, like I said, we're going to look at our Durham detached median sale prices. Across the top, we can see where we're at for the week across the markets that we're looking at. And the reason I look at these markets is because majority of the deals in Durham region happen across these 4 cities/towns. And when we come to focusing on the detached side of things, because the majority of deals happen in the detached segment as opposed to other segments. So here's what happened this week. Here's our 5-week rolling average. And here is how we've been trending, kind of going back to the beginning of the year. You can see Pickering's in the midst of a bit of an upswing in terms of median prices. You can see they've been a little more volatile. They do the least detached volume out of all these markets. But you can see, like I said, June and onwards has been pretty flat in Oshawa, Ajax the red line, and Whitby the green line. To kick off the inventory piece of this equation, we're going to look at our Durham detached listings across these market segments. Pretty steady decline across all the markets with the exception of Pickering, which saw a bit of an uptick into June and then more of a fall off. But I'd say for the past 3 weeks, relatively flat and relatively low compared to what we see at this point in time, historically at least. I want to show you this chart in just the actual weekly breakdown as well, as opposed to smoothing it out with the 5-week rolling averages. The reason I'm doing this is to see if there's any indications as to, is there going to be an increase in inventory? Are we seeing an uptick over the last few weeks, like at a point in time? All I'll say is that everybody experienced an uptick after the Labor Day long weekend. There's no surprise there. Kind of that last week of August, first week of September is always slow. You do see a pickup just because people are getting back into their normal routines. But since then, we've kind of seen things go a whole bunch of different ways. Oshawa with a decrease, Whitby with a bit of an increase, Ajax and Pickering relatively flat in terms of their new listings. So let's take a look at this in a different way. We're going to look at all of Durham region. This is including Oxbridge, your Claringtons, Bowmanvilles, all that good stuff, just to see how many active listings there are and if there's been an uptick there that we can see at all. So again, our active listings versus sales over the last 30 days. We saw inventory kind of reach its peak June through July. Sales had been declining really pretty steadily, maybe with a bit of an uptick since May though. What we're used to seeing at this point in time is that you'd expect to start seeing active listings going back up at this point of the year. Not as much as you see in a spring market per se, but you would expect to start seeing an increase at this point in time. But we're just not seeing that. It's been pretty flat. Why has it been so flat? Well, we're just not seeing new listings coming to market pretty simply. Like you could see the sales weren't increasing too much to eat into that inventory. So it must be the other side of the equation. There's just not a lot of new listings coming. And as you can see, I plotted back to 2014, comparing, the first 21 days of August to the first 21 days of September. And you can see historically, with the exception of 2020, which is pandemic year 1, you would expect to see more new listings through the first 3 weeks of September than you would through August. But if you look down here at 2022, we're actually 11% behind where we were last year at this point in time. So just less people are bringing properties to the market, tightening that inventory up, holding prices a little more steady. So those are the things that I'm keeping my eyes on the inventory side of things. We'll keep tracking those to see how we're trending. We'll follow those active listings. If active listings really do spike, that's when I think we can start to see the next decrease in prices, the next wave of price decreases. But why did price decreases happen so early in the year and then they haven't happened so much since then? And the first part of that is I think people got caught with their proverbial pants down. Somebody buying a home at the peak of the market in January, we were just coming off a big run where it was a strong seller's market. You could go out and buy a home relatively comfortably and then be sure that you would be able to sell your home maybe a week or two later. If you bought in February, let's say though, the market really went away pretty quickly once rates started to increase. So you needed to sell your home. And that meant needing to sell your home at a discount, meaning we did see a big drop just because people had to sell their homes. It's not like people were just testing the market at this point. they'd already bought something, they needed funds, they needed to sell, so we did see some price decreases. As a result, now I'd say sellers have gotten kind of stubborn because we're no longer in that market where people necessarily need to sell. What we're seeing a lot more now is people are actually selling first before buying so that they know what their budget is for the move up or the move down or the lateral move to a different market, whatever that move looks like for somebody. And one way that I'm kind of tracking the stubbornness that you can see in sellers these days, maybe stubbornness is harsh, but would just be listings days on market. So again, early in the year, this was the list extremely low, bring a ton of buyers and sell the place in a week or less, maybe even sell it to a bully offer in the first couple days. And now we are seeing properties sit on the market for longer. The reason being less buyer demand and sellers still potentially stuck looking at what their neighbor got for their place back in February or March. If you're listing really high, your listing is just going to sit there. When it does eventually sell after a couple price changes, it's just going to be on the market for a lot longer, which is why we're seeing this general trend of an increased days on market right across Durham region. This is how we've gotten to where we are, but where are we going with prices? Will we just keep staying flat into the foreseeable future, or what is going to happen? I don't know for sure, but I would say more than likely we're going to see a decrease soon, and there's a couple reasons for that. Let me get into it. First off is this headline here from the CBC, and yes, this is US central bank hiking rates. It's not anything to do with Canada directly, but it has a massive impact indirectly, as I'll show you on the next slide. But pretty much what happened is the US central bank hiked to 3.25% at their most recent meeting this week, but they are still projecting that their benchmark rate will get to roughly 4.4%. So you're talking about 100 basis points higher still from where we are right now. And this chart later in that CBC article just shows us how the US and Canadian rates do move together. So if the US is planning on another 100 basis point in rate hikes by the end of this year, I'd say it's a pretty safe bet to assume that Canada is going to do the same thing. It's just extremely important for kind of protecting our currency against the US dollar. If the US is raising their rates, Canada needs to do the same thing to keep pace from that sense. Now, rate increases are going to have an effect on affordability, and affordability could have a knock-on effect on inventory. What I mean by that is if a homeowner right now is, say, on an adjustable rate mortgage or a variable rate mortgage or maybe even a short-term fixed private money deal that they did in order to maybe boost their income to show better finances, if they're coming up for renewal now or they're experiencing pressure on their budget, they may not be able to hold that property and they may have to put it on the market, unfortunately. That is going to lead to an increase in inventory. So coupled with higher rates to affect affordability, more inventory equals lower prices. The other segment of people that I think will experience some pressure are people who locked into 5-year fixed rates, even back in 2017 potentially. And again, those kind of short-term fixed rate people in the last couple of years who were locking into 1-year, maybe even 2-year rates. I'm going to show you this chart very quickly from RateHub that explains why that's going to be such an issue going forward. Again, if you're getting one of these discounted 5-year rates back in 2017, let's say your rate was just over 2%, it's time for renewal now, you have to then get a mortgage up over 4, close to 5% at these discounted rates. More than likely though, it's not going to be a discounted rate, it's going to be something up over 5, maybe close to 6%. It's going to be a big difference on people's monthly budget. They may not be able to carry it anymore. They may have to put the property in the market. Again, more inventory means prices coming down, to put it simply. That's my recap this week for where we are at and where I see us going. Let me know in the comments below, when are you thinking this next kind of price correction comes? Is it going to be soon? Is it going to be in the new year? Are we just going to stay flat? Are we going to see price increases somehow in the next little bit in time? I want to know what you think below. If you've stuck around this long, thank you so much. Please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Maybe turn those notifications on just so you don't miss a video. Share it with a friend who you think would get good value out of these videos that I do. And until we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers.